I would like to share with you a story that changed my life. My name is Andre, and until recently I thought that my marriage was perfect. We lived happily with Marina, and even though there were occasional arguments, they were over small things, like when she was upset that I forgot to wish her mother a happy birthday one day. Of course, I apologized and sent a bouquet and a gift to her mother by courier. From then on, we agreed to remind each other about important events. However, as they say, every happy story has a bad ending. It happened at the beginning of the summer. I returned home and found Marina fussily setting 3 dishes on the table. I asked her if we were expecting anyone, but she said that our second cousin, Andriushechka, was coming to visit us. Can you imagine my surprise when I heard that? We hadn't seen him since we were children. He said he would be passing through town on his way somewhere else. I invited him to visit and he should be here any minute. His flushed wife replied that she didn't remember me telling her about him. There are photos. I asked her to head to the bathroom and now I'll take a look. Marina threw me some photos. She spent a few minutes flipping through old photo albums, intently studying pictures from her childhood. Soon she concluded that they stayed with her mom, and I can't find anything. Well, then I will show you sometime. Come on, sit down at the tea table. At that moment, Marina rang the doorbell and opened it. On the threshold, I saw a tall, young guy who looked like he was 10 years younger than us. I held out my hand, inviting him to come in. Maxim shook my hand, and Marina fussily took off his jacket. She showed him where the bathroom was, and her roast duck was already steaming on the table. Brandy was in the decanter. "Let's drink to meeting," I said, filling his glass from the decanter. I did not refuse the offer to spend time with Maxim. We had a conversation, and I learned that he works as a manager for a construction company. He came to the city to look at plots for a residential complex. Maxim was very nice, and we had a great time together. Marina and I were busy all evening, so Maxim stayed with us. It was rude to send him back to a hotel at such a late hour, so we decided to let him stay overnight. I told my wife that it was good to have a relative visit us, but she didn't agree. The next morning at breakfast, Maxim offered to take a taxi, but we offered him a ride. He said he still needed to find a place to stay. Marina asked if Maxim could stay with us, and I agreed. One day, when Maxim was staying at our apartment, I returned home earlier than expected. Maxim ran into me in the hallway with a bare torso. He quickly extended his hand and went to the bathroom. At that time, Marina locked herself in the bedroom. I knocked on the door. "Are you there?" "How can I get in?" I asked. "Yes, Andrew, just a moment," she replied. I decided to change my clothes. I got a little dirty while cooking dinner. After a few minutes, the door opened, and she chirped, "Let's celebrate." But then, I didn't understand her mood, and my brother had bought himself a car. "Look out the window," I looked. Under the windows, there was a car. Marina hadn't left my brother's side all evening and was kissing him on the cheek. In the end, I dragged her to the bedroom to calm down the display of brotherly love. A little more than a week had passed since her arrival. Maxim hadn't been leaving, and somehow a colleague from work had brought the whole team some tangerines from Abkhazia. Since Marina, I am allergic to cats, but I decided to visit my friend Mikhailovna for lunch. She opened the door with a big smile and invited me in for tea. I didn't refuse, as I had some time. During the conversation, Mikhailovna asked me how things were going. I told her about my brother's arrival, but she asked who he was. I replied that he was my second cousin, Maxim. She said that there were no nephews in her family, only nieces, and we joked about it being a women's battalion. For some reason, she went into the living room while I was thinking about what had happened. Then, Mikhailovna showed me old pictures of her family and explained who each person was, but I wasn't listening. After saying goodbye, I rushed out into the street and ran home to explain to my wife about the situation. I opened the apartment door and realized that someone had been there. I heard strange noises coming from our bedroom. Trying not to give away my presence, I went to the door and saw my wife with someone else. I grabbed her by the hair and pushed her into a corner, while Maxim got in the way and got hit in the jaw. I told him to leave, and Marina rushed to my side trying to explain herself, but I didn't want to listen. Maxim gathered his things, wiped the blood from his lip, and left the apartment. I packed Marina's suitcase and put her on the stairs. She screamed outside the door, trying to justify herself, but I still didn't want to listen. Every day she would watch me at the entrance, begging me to talk to her. I gave her a chance to speak, but my hatred for her didn't go away. Maxim left her and disappeared from my life. It turned out that Marina had taken out a loan and given money to Maxim so he could buy the car that I wanted. They met on a forum and corresponded for a long time. Then he came up with a plan to meet in person. It was all very well planned, but in the end, it didn't go as he hoped. He repeated the same thing so that she would stop following him and leave his life forever. He still doesn't understand why she agreed to such a performance. After all that had happened, he couldn't find a way to move on. Marina continued to harass him and bombarded him with messages and calls. In the end, he agreed to a meeting to try and make things right. They met in a small cafe. Marina looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. She began to tell him how she met Maxim on the forum and how he charmed her with his messages. They planned this meeting together. Andrei, I don't know what came over me, but I made the worst mistake. I love you, she begged. I will fix everything, he replied. But everything inside him was boiling with anger. I am disgusted by how she could do this. How could she let a stranger into our home? She deceived me day after day, looking into my eyes and lying to me. Marina, I said, trying to speak calmly. You betrayed me. You betrayed our marriage. You made a whole show of making me feel like an idiot. You let a stranger live in our home, sleep in our bed, and for some crook you didn't know. You didn't think about how it would affect me. I continued. All the documents are with the lawyer now. I can't and won't forgive you, Marina. You ruined everything we had, and I won't be able to trust you again. We can try to fix everything, she interrupted. Let's go to therapy. No, I replied. Nothing can be fixed. I don't want to see you anymore. I got up from the table and left her alone. When I walked out of the cafe, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had difficult times ahead of me. Divorce, division of property, a new life. I knew I was doing the right thing, but it was hard to face the consequences. A few months later, the divorce was finalized, and I moved to another apartment, changed my job. Sometimes I thought about Marina and our happy days, but those memories no longer caused pain. I realized what I had done was the right choice, without forgiveness for betrayal, and a new chapter of my life was opening up before me. I was ready to move on, leaving the past behind. This is my story, dear friends. Write your comments. Share this story with your friends. I will be pleased to subscribe to your channel. Until new meetings.